Well, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon. My goodness. It's been a minute. It's been a big minute. I've been absent for a little while. Just had to take a break from participating with all of you out there. We have been busy doing a lot of things. You can see up there on the screen there already have up the title of this episode. But most of all, I'm woke. I am very much woke. I'm Reverend Dr. Barry Staples. I'm by myself today. My partner, my mate, my only squeeze, my main squeeze, Reverend Jennifer Staples, is not here with me today. But absent from the presence, always present in the heart. Can I get an amen? I was going to do something different today, but it has really been just devastating to me about what is happening out there. As I said, this is another show that we do. I'm Reverend Dr. Barry Staples. Welcome to Race and Cultures Bridging the Divides. Race and Cultures Bridging the Divides. Now, some of you that are new here might not have experienced the teaching as we talked about race and cultures, but just remember that we cannot do anything in this world, especially in the United States, without us talking about race. That's just the way it is. It's happening everywhere to all of us. Where race is something that people constantly talk about. Then we talk about culture. For example, race is defined by one's physical characteristics and their appearance. Um, Basically, in the United States, is the color of your skin. You can see me on the screen. Some people look at me and just call me a black dude. Well, you can see my shirt is black, and then they call other people white. And I bring that out because everything we seem to do in this country is based upon what is happening with black folk and what is happening with white folk. And you can see that the color outlining race and cultures on my shirt is the color white. You can see white lettering. I don't know anyone that looks like that. And I know that people want to call me black, but I know my skin is not that color. I have a lot of other different, put it this way, kind of people in me. My grandfather, my great grandfather on my mother's side was truly from the Cherokee Nation. My father, of course, black, and that's just the way it is. So I'm really very multicultural, but I fall under that concept of the one drop rule. So if you have any aspect of blood in you that comes from someone that's quote black, I don't really use the term African American because I think it's um, misleading for me because I've never been to Africa. I've been in America. And then a lot of people that were slaves in this country didn't just come from Africa. A lot of people came from the West Indies. I just want to make that distinction. In order to know more about us, Race and Cultures Bridging the Divides, you can also go to our website that has the same name, except it has .com on the end. So just want to let you know that we are here for you. And then we also are a nonprofit. And so by being nonprofit, there's a scan code up in the corner. You can donate to us anytime. And I'm just so glad to be here today. What hit me was something that I just want to share with you that has bothered me. The other day, we did a strike on Iran. About a month or so ago, the Iranian ruling people has sent out a message to uh, the guy in the White House. I just refer to him as a convicted felon in chief. And that is not hyperbole, that is fact. He is a convicted felon, 34 counts felony, not counting the other charges that were state charges for the sexual rape. The judge said that he raped um, the young lady and so on, and other charges. I just want to just share this with you, even though I didn't know this was going to be a title, but this is what um, the USA Today called it: disgusting and evil. Trump faces MAGA backlash on Iran. So it goes here. Polling indicates many Republicans are wary of military involvement in Iran, presenting a challenge as this president works to keep them motivated in a crucial election year. Now, pay attention to that. That skepticism has been aired publicly by prominent voices on the right since the U.S. and Israel launched a military campaign targeting Iran's leadership, missile sites, and nuclear program. I am very ticked off. The United States has killed 200 young girls at that school and teachers, not counting the other things that have gone on in this country. We have our own, people dressed in military gear, wearing masks, harming, killing, and maiming our own citizen in this country. This man has no heart. I even saw in a news brief, someone asked him, what are you going to say about our fallen? Because there was some American soldiers were killed by what they call friendly fire. If you don't know what that is, that's when your own person on your own team kills you. They call it an accident friendly fire. Now, you tell the person who just got killed if they felt it was friendly. I don't want any friend to be shooting missiles and bullets at me and call it friendly. I just want disgusting and evil, and that's the theme of this episode, is about evil. So this is interesting here. Um, former down here in this paragraph, I'm going to not go through everything else, but former GOP representative, you remember that phrase, Bush blonde bad built body, Jasmine Crawford. Well, now she's seen the light. I would say that Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to have a little wokeness in her now. Jesus in my coffee. Jesus in my coffee. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, former GOP representative, who has become a fervent Trump critic after years as one of his top supporters in Congress, accused the president and his team in a flurry of social media posts after the initial attack on Iran of betraying their promises. No, he said that he's not going to have wars. Well, we got lied to, people. So Green called Trump's administration, quote, sick. Then, she's going to cuss a little bit. Sick, blank, blank liars. You can probably throw an F-bomb in there knowing her. In her February 27th post, she's declared, we voted for America first and zero wars. After all, he made up these 8 wars that he's supposed to have had solved. So he should get a Nobel Peace Prize. So instead he takes the one from the young lady in Venezuela. I mean, I have no idea why she did that. It's like getting that's lower than a participation medal ribbon. He didn't do anything to earn her Medal of Honor. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she continually says, this was absolutely unnecessary and it's unacceptable. She said in March 1st, that was yesterday, social media post, she says, Trump, Vance, Tulsi, excuse me, Tulsi Gabbard, and all of us campaign on no more foreign wars and regime change. Now, American soldiers are dead. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know what she's been drinking. Maybe she's been drinking the same thing, having a little Jesus in her coffee that woke her up because she is talking truth to power these days, folks. Marjorie Taylor Greene. So what am I saying, people? You might wonder. Good question. I'm glad you asked. It goes back to um, one very important thing. Here is that I talked about a few weeks ago in the episode. Some of you may not have seen everything, but being a preacher, I always go to the word. 2 Timothy 3:13 tells us that, but evil men and imposters, people that are pretending to care about people, pretending to be a leader, excuse me, will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. You see, he deceives you, but all these people are glad handing him. I'm going to get into another section about what I saw during the last week of Black History Month about being deceived. That was going to be this episode, but I'm going to get back to that. But I want to deal with something real and relevant today. The Iran war, and we're dealing with evil people. So we're being deceived, but he gets deceived because he thinks all these people love him. He's being deceived, but he doesn't care. He is a transactional person. I'm going to do this, but you got to give me a bunch of money. I'm going to sell some clocks, some fake watches. I'm going to, have these gold bars and give to you, and you can give me $5 million, and you don't have to worry about going through citizenship protocol. Deceiving, very deceiving. This is what we're dealing with, folks. 2 Timothy 3:13 tells us what evil men do. So I want to just share with you something that about more evil, And this here, I'm going to share with you, set it up with this pastor. I'm going to just go right into, I'm going to invite my friend through his podcast, Roland Martin, on here with this clip that he did. But this is the setup. This is what this pastor Baldwin, he set this up from the book of Ephesians. We have Galatia, Corinth, Ephesus, and Paul. His situation was very pressing because Timothy was, excuse me, microphone. Timothy was going out and delivering the message and proclaiming the gospel and doing things, but he was dealing with people in these areas that had been subject to years and years of paganism. But this is what this pastor is talking from these verses here in Ephesians 5 verses 6 and 7. This is from the New International Version Bible here. It's still part of King James. The NIV kind of takes out the these are the thous and the those and what for and begot this and beget that kind of thing if you're looking at King James. But this, people like, the words still mean the same. But this is interesting. It says, let no one deceive you with empty words. For because of such things, God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them. That kind of segues away from about evil and the deception, that no one deceive you. So if there's a deceiver, you being deceived by empty words, promising you things. But God's wrath will come to those that are disobedient. So therefore, do not kick it with them, so to speak. That's what this pastor is going to be talking about here. And I just want you to sit back and listen to his message. Listen to his message.
Folks, Chuck Baldwin, the pastor of Liberty Fellowship in Montana, woo, preached about the divine litmus test.
He's going to cuss a little bit now.
And let's just say this white preacher has something to say to Donald Trump and all of these white evangelicals like Franklin Graham who kiss his ass.
None of us is perfect.
I just want to clarify something. There's a lot of people going around wearing crosses, calling themselves Christians. I preach truth to power. I love Jesus Christ, but I do not use Christianity to try to justify hurting other people and all week long and go to church on Sunday and try to act like you care and love people. But this pastor kind of helps us understand. So people that call themselves Christians, don't fall for the okie doke. So just listen to what Pastor Baldwin says.
Real Christians understand these things. They are given to forgiveness and understanding because we all know that Jesus was forgiving and understanding toward us.
Let the church say amen.
That's not what we're talking about with Donald Trump. That's not it at all. Donald Trump is a lifelong gangster. He's a lifelong Zionist. He is a lifelong philanderer. He's a lifelong cheat. He's a lifelong hedonist. He's a lifelong felon. He's a lifelong blackmailer. He's a lifelong bully. He's a lifelong malignant narcissist. And he's a lifelong sexual predator.
Wow, you say that now.
And since he's been president, he has now joined the ranks of international war criminals and mass murderers. If you have taken the time to look at even some of the newly released, I'll call them e-files, you know what I'm talking about. If you have taken the time to look at even some of the newly released e-files, you know that Donald J. Trump, along with the rest of the rich and famous predators in those files, should spend the rest of his life in prison.
He's in there over 1 million times.
And even if he did, that would not balance the scales of justice owed by this degenerate monster.
Preach that now. We have a little church up in here.
And yet, knowing all of this, there are still thousands of pastors and Christians who continue to give Trump
quotes,
their undying support. From a moral, ethical, legal, and spiritual perspective, how can these pastors and Christians not be party to Trump's corruption?
Yeah.
By supporting him, lauding him, defending him, excusing him, they are party to his criminality.
We call it guilt by association.
Wow.
He said it. Wow. Good job. Good.
That's the way. Come on, switch, guys. Come on, listen.
Y'all heard it.
You saw.
Y'all heard it.
That.
Yeah, he brought it real. That was Pastor Baldwin. He let you know what was happening. Man, how can you call yourself a Christian when this is what you're doing? How can you do that. For example, we have other situations here. And this is getting, I'm going back into the Epstein files. So we have uh, Pam Bondi, uh, Attorney General of this United States of America, who says that the Epstein files, she said this, who knows, 11 months ago, they're on her desk. People are shouting, release the files, release the files. They want to see the files. The files you get back, I just hold this up. This is what it looks like. Nothing, just pretend this is a black sheet of paper. That's the files you get because everything is redacted. Redacted. The issue deals with the survivors from this heinous situation from Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, all the other people, the former prince, he got arrested. They're doing things around the world where they're bringing people to justice, but not here in this country. No one is being brought to justice. So they had this hearing with Pam Bondi, and this is so the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who's supposed to be working for us, the citizens of this country. They had a civil rights division also, because we still dealing with remnants and direct aspects of the KKK and all the other subsidiaries that go along with being part of the KKK. Well, you can go to the Civil Rights Commission and file a complaint, just like what happened. Oh, yeah, I got to say it. We had a Department of Justice back in 1970 plus when the convicted felon in chief and his father were found guilty of several counts for not renting to black folks or anybody brown and black at their apartment building in San Diego. And I have personal account of that where someone has shared that with me. They got sued and lost for their racial discrimination. Matter of fact, the secretary who, when you fill out your application at that apartment complex, when you came in, if you were a person with a tan, little melanin, she would mark on the C. This is what she was instructed by the convicted felon chief to do, put C that stood for colored, and it went right into the trash. But U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, not working for the people of the United States, he worked for the convicted felon in chief. And Senator Jayapal, young lady, asked her to stand up, and when she turned around and face the survivors, the victims, this is just a few of them, and Gofor's, her brother, the young man in the back, he's holding his hand up because the question was asked, how many of you have been apologized to or talked to by the Department of Justice? She asked Pam Bondi, wretched self, to turn around when she looked them in the eye and apologized. You can see what she's doing. I ain't studying them. I ain't going to apologize to nobody. She refused to even look them in the face. I tell you what, sexual abuse and harassment, all those things are real. And these young ladies, and I heard there were some young men that were also subjected to this heinous situation. They never got an apology. They've never reached out to those young ladies. Or Guofo, I can never say her name right. Her brother never got any kind of recognition. So what has happened here? So we know that the files are supposed to be released. They released 3 million. There's 3 million, 3.5 million files still aren't released, even though most of them are redacted. They've been scrubbed. They had them go in, hundreds of FBI agents and Cash Patel. Went in and scrubbed the files, looking for whose name? The convicted felon in chief. Now what they found out that there are now they can do some kind of tracking where they can look at the numbers at the bottom, and it goes like 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden they get the 1, 2, 3, say it up to 10, they to 20. So for example, all of a sudden they get the files that they're supposed to get, and it goes up to 20. Guess what happens? Number 5 through 15 are missing. I'm just saying as an example. So they didn't think people were going to catch that. They have eliminated those files because, and I'll talk about that, because there's a young lady who was involved, who had come out, and her name appeared in those redacted or missing files with her name. And you'll hear this in a second.
Can we begin with breaking news from MS Now this hour about Trump-related files missing from the DOJ's Epstein files release? Let's bring in MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin, who broke this story. Also with us, our senior White House reporter Von Hilliard, and MS Now legal analyst, former Manhattan DA assistant DA, that is Catherine Christian. And Lisa, you got this reporting. Walk us through it.
Well, Anna, one of the things I can tell you is that based on documents that are
She'll
available
explain
in the
this
Epstein files,
to
I'm
you
just going to hold
about
up
the
to
numbers.
you what allowed us to get to this reporting. This is an index of witness statements from people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were nonetheless produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to her 2021 trial. We also have a smaller one with respect to those who were expected to testify. And based on those indices, as well as documents available in the file, MS Now can report that there is at least one witness for whom 3 interviews with the FBI in rapid succession in 2019 are missing. You might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is that we can also confirm
13-year-old
that
victim
that woman is the same person who in a
alleged
2025 FBI
rape
presentation is identified to have accused Donald Trump of a sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old. We know that based on a human source who has confirmed to us that this woman is one and the same. So I want to make it this very clear. There is a woman who, according to the FBI and documents compiled last summer, accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting and physically abusing her. One of the things in her accusation is that in addition to forcing her to perform oral sex, he also hit her in that same episode. We have now connected that woman to someone who was interviewed by the FBI 4 times in 2019. Of those 4 interview memoranda, which are listed in this index that I'm holding up right here, only one of them can be seen. And in that interview, the accusations against Trump are not present. At the most, she says that she had met Trump on one occasion without detailing it. And when asked how she understood that Epstein was a person who committed abuse against her, she showed FBI agents a picture that she had been sent by a friend. It was a picture that she was reluctant to share with FBI agents because there was somebody else in the photograph. It turned out to be, according to this interview memo, a well-known photograph of Epstein and Trump together. She said that she was reluctant to show them the full image, lest she incriminate someone that she feared could retaliate against her. That's all that we know from what's publicly available in the files. But we know that this woman had other accusations against Trump. Where they are listed or where they've been memorialized, we're not sure. But we can tell you and our viewers that there are 3 other interview memoranda taken by the FBI that are not present anywhere in the Epstein files. And this is a problem that we expect may have recurred with dozens of other witnesses whose files may not have been produced in their totality. Again, this index gives a unique numerical identifier to more than 500 witnesses and lists in numerical order the kinds of documents from which their statements were taken, everything from FBI interview memos to Palm Beach police incident reports to handwritten notes and the like. going through those methodically, you can see as a layperson or as a reporter what has been produced in the files and what hasn't. And it's our expectation and understanding that there are many other instances in which witnesses, many of whom were alleged victims, don't have all of their statements produced. If these were important enough to give to Ghislaine Maxwell's defense, it's unclear to me what the rationale is for withholding them from the American public, particularly given the text of the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
What's the rationale given by the DOJ? Have they given any reason for withholding these
Let's
documents?
listen to this.
MS Now has not yet obtained a statement from the Department of Justice. However, NPR, which was the first to report on this morning, has obtained a statement from the White House in which they haven't defended the lack of transparency with respect to these 3 interview memoranda. Instead, they have fallen back on their defense that Donald Trump is the most transparent president in history, that he has fully committed to producing documents in compliance.
So we've heard that okie doke before. We've heard that before. I just wanted you to hear that part. The young lady that you're talking about, I have this in another source. I wasn't going to put it on here for where you can hear it, for example, because I don't know if it was legal or not, but I do have a tape. What this young lady said in her interview with the FBI is that the convicted felon in chief, wanted her to put on a blonde wig because it reminded him of his daughter, Ivanka. And you might have heard all the stories of how much he refers to his daughter, Ivanka. Wow. Files are missing. It's a cover-up. I grew up time around Watergate. Watergate got nothing on this thing. This is unbelievable. So what else has happened with these? So we have certain representatives that are also fighting against this. So let's hear what they say.
Now is the ranking Democrat on the Oversight Committee, Congressman Robert Garcia, who is leading the charge on their own Epstein investigation. He's going to be boycotting tonight's State of the Union address, but the guest who he's standing next to that he's sending in his place is Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell survivor Annie Farmer. She is now a psychologist specializing in trauma recovery. It's good to have you both with us. Thank you so much for taking the time. Congressman, let me get your reaction first to Lisa's new reporting on these specific documents that are apparently missing from the Epstein Files release. Is this something you were aware of?
It is, and not only is I aware of them, just yesterday, I actually looked at this tranche of documents that was being described to you. We've been investigating this allegation now for a few weeks. And what I can confirm to what Lisa said and other reporting is that I have seen the manifest document that lays out the series of documents that includes interviews and other files. Within that grouping, it's clear that what's been presented to the Congress, there is a group of documents or document that is actually missing. I myself reviewed these exact documents, the manifest, yesterday. I have seen other interviews and documentation with this survivor, but those additional documents seem to be missing. And that's something that I confirmed as of yesterday in my visit to the Department of Justice. The idea that there is a possible cover-up or that we are hiding actual documentation of an alleged crime by the President of the United States, of which a survivor appears to have made, is incredibly serious. And the DOJ has to explain to the public, where are these possible documents and what do they say?
At this point, have you gotten any response from the DOJ as to why these specific documents aren't available?
I have not. I just confirmed this reporting that you are all having a conversation about just yesterday in my own visit to the DOJ. I had begun to review some of these documents the last time I was there, and yesterday, because of our independent investigation that we have been reviewing, as it relates to particularly this one case and this one survivor, it was pretty stunning yesterday to see that there clearly are documents missing.
So you heard it. Documents are missing. Missing. Why is this happening? Well, there's a lot of things to say about this young lady that they're referring to. And it gets down to why, okay, when she brought the charges about the rape, her life was being threatened, her family was being threatened, so on and so forth. Now, this is a little girl, 13, 14, 15 years old. And what she says in other reporting is that in 2016, she decided to come forward because she said that she could not stand to see this person become the president of the United States. And she felt that she had a moral obligation. There's more stuff that she talked about. The young lady is with the Representative Garcia, who is actually a trauma victim, who is now a psychologist, helping other people that have gone through stuff like this. This young lady that was assaulted by him, she talks a lot about how she has difficulty forming relationships. But the biggest thing was she was fearful for her life. And why are people afraid to do things when it comes to this person? Well, this is one of the reasons that happens. And listen, and I played this before. This is his manifesto. This is what he says.
Announcing the commencement of the annual purge.
What the hell is going on? See, we have to let the police do their job. And if they have to be
Listen to this.
extraordinarily rough, the police want to do it. The Border Patrol wants to do it. Oh, my God. You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example. Now, if you had one really violent day.
At the siren, all crime will be legal for 12.
This man has no problem with crime. January 6th, other situations. This young girl felt this was going to happen. This guy is running this country like he's a mafia head.
12 hours.
One rough hour, and I mean real rough.
He's not going to do
The
anything.
word will get out, and it will end immediately.
I purged to keep my country great.
Check that out. This guy wants to do a purge. And that's what he does with people. He will take you out. That's what he's saying. Look at this. Several federal judges who ruled against him, his administration, and related face significant threats, often following intense public criticism from him. All the judges did. Judge Royce LaBerth, who was involved in the January 6th case, Judge Juan Merchan, we've heard about him. And with the Stormy Daniels case, where they found him convicted, 34 counts. Judge Royce Lambert, a high volume of threats related to because of the January 6th. Judge Juan Merchan again. And then we have Anita Mehta handle cases related to January 6th. All these judges regarding, then we have Rudolph Contreras, January 6th. James Robert, threats after blocking the 2017 travel ban. Then we have Judge Tigar, attacked by Trump after blocking asylum restrictions. Goes on and on. Judge Currell, targeted by him for his immigration stuff. Then several federal and state judges have faced significant threats, including death threats and swatting following rulings against him or his administration. So we have a serious situation. Then we have other judges, Tanya Chutkan. She was involved with the whole process, the case that what he said over the federal election and interference cases. And now they're trying to still deal with that, trying to say the election was stolen in 2020. That's when he called attorney general in Georgia. Now they go in, 6 years later, they go in and illegally confiscate voting records, so on and so forth. But she was threatened. A voice in keep in mind, Judge Chutkan happened to be a black female. I can go on and on about his attitude about black female. Don't get it twisted. His parading Nicki Minaj around, and I'll talk about this on the next episode. It's just a form of tokenism. She fell for the okie doke. So he said he promised to kill anyone who went after him from a woman who was involved. So, and then we have John McConnell Jr. Was also blocked his administration to freeze federal funding. He received over 400 threatening voicemails and six credible death threats. And his home was also targeted with unsolicited pizza deliveries meant to signal that his address was known. Judge Kohager also, who ruled against the executive order regarding birthright citizenship, was also targeted. Judge Boasberg, you can see how serious it is with dealing with this guy. And then we have others. And Egron is mentioned again because he dealt with that civil fraud case. And then we have, this is interesting, Amy Coney Barrett, while she frequently ruled in his favor, her sister reportedly received a bomb threat after the Justice Department voted against his effort to freeze foreign aid. Now, and she just won. You have these other judges, with 6 judges that voted against this tariff thing, and he's signaling out Amy Coney Barrett and went after her sister, death threats. Now, what am I talking about? Did he do all this? You heard the issue about sending out dog whistles. Then it's the Colorado Supreme Court justice faced a surge of threats, ruling that he was ineligible to appear in the state's primary ballot. So we have a serious situation with this guy. So what does this all call? Well, he'll say he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. That's called stochastic terrorism. When he stood on his lips and said, "Go down there, stop the election, and do all this stuff."
Do that. It's terrorism by statistical
This
probability. You're not directing specific people to commit specific acts.
Listen.
You're just broadcasting hatred to millions, knowing statistically someone's going to act on it.
Stochastic
And it
terrorism.
works. Misogyny is on the rise, along with calls to remove women's rights. This correlates with rises in domestic violence and harassment. Studies show anti-LGBTQ rhetoric directly correlates to increased violence against queer people. When you have a platform with millions of followers and you consistently tell them that certain groups of people are an abomination or threats to children in society, some percentage of those followers will
All
take
the
action.
Hispanics
The
are
insidious
murderers
part
and
is when violence
rapists.
happened, Kirk got to step back and say, "I didn't hurt
And
anyone."
all the
But that's not how
black
stochastic
people
terrorism
rape.
works. You don't
We
need to
have
give
the
explicit instructions when you
Central
spent
Park
years hitting a
5, now
target
an
on
exonerated
people's backs.
5.
He built his career on hatred disguised as Christianity, violence disguised as patriotism, and eliminationist rhetoric disguised as political discourse. So don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking his words were harmless. Words have impact, platforms have responsibilities, and hatred disguised as righteousness is still hatred. Stochastic.
You understand? Stochastic terrorism. You speak the language, people listen. You have enough nutcases out there. You tell them that this kind of person will do this and do that. So they go out and they commit harm. They do things. Just real quick, how far can they go? So look at this. This is another judge, Diane Goodstein. They went so far as to burn her house down.
You can hear this thing burning.
A horrific fire ripped through the remote Edisto Beach home of a South Carolina judge on Saturday, leaving 3 people injured, including her ex-senator husband, who suffered broken bones after being forced to jump from the first floor to escape the blaze. Circuit Court Judge Diana Goodstein had been walking on a beach with her dogs when flames swallowed the home in the lush Jeremy K private gated community around midday. As plumes of black smoke were sent into the air and the fire engulfed the home, her husband, former state senator Arnold Goodstein, was trapped inside. Sources close to Goodstein's family confirmed Arnold was airlifted after breaking multiple bones in his hips, legs, and feet after escaping from the 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom home, according to Fitz News. 2 additional occupants were also reportedly rescued by several neighbors and paramedics from a marshy, remote area behind the 3-story home. Their identities have not been released. According to the St. Paul's Fire District, Arnold and 2 other individuals were reached by emergency workers in kayaks before they were hospitalized. Diana Goodstein, a South Carolina native, was elected to her first judgeship in May 1998. The 69-year-old has served continuously ever since, according to her biography. Her husband, Arnold Goodstein, reportedly served in the House and the South Carolina Senate in the 1970s as a Democrat representing Charleston County. He also led Somerville Homes, a large home-building business that ceased operations in 2008 and filed for a $61 million bankruptcy, the outlet said. The state law enforcement division is reportedly investigating the fire at the couple's home, though it is not yet clear what caused the large property to burn to the ground.
She was another judge that ruled against him, and that's was her fate and her ex's fate. So you see here, stochastic terrorism happens. One of the biggest areas of stochastic terrorism, and I won't go through the whole thing, but you're familiar with what this is all about. It gets back to this guy here. I can't let the files get released, so I'm going to go off and bomb Iran. I can't let the files get released, so I'm going to keep sending the ICE agents into cities to harm people. I can't let the files get released. I'm going to keep on. I didn't talk about this yet, but they are going to every state. They're getting warehouses to build concentration camps to put people in. I'm not making this up. Nazi Germany is right here in our midst. But this is what it gets down to. This is what this is all about.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Listen carefully. Look
Well,
at
I'd like
his
to
face.
answer that question, at least today. I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Have you ever?
He knows. And the convicted felon chief knows that eventually he was going to try to make a deal to get out of jail. So I won't go through this whole thing. You know, when Epstein was found dead, I'll just show this real quick.
Exclusive insight and tells me that he thinks the evidence shows that Jeffrey did not kill himself.
His brother.
In July, Jeffrey Epstein was found semi-conscious with marks on his neck in his jail cell from an apparent suicide attempt. The attorney for his cellmate requested video from outside the cell to prove that his client saved Epstein's life. Last month, Metropolitan Correctional Center officials said they couldn't find it. A day later, they announced they did have it. But now, federal prosecutors say the video no longer exists and that MCC, quote, inadvertently preserved video from the wrong tier. I spoke with the cellmate's attorney from New York.
The various and inconsistent accounts of what happened to the video are deeply troubling. We are going to request that the court conduct a hearing with live testimony to determine exactly what took place.
Bruce Barquette isn't the only one troubled. So is Epstein's brother, Mark. Here's why. Epstein's jail cell looked like this when the medical examiner arrived hours after his death August 10th. Bed sheets strewn around, two fashioned into nooses with complicated knots. Epstein was dead, but EMTs inexplicably moved his body before investigators arrived. And Mark Epstein tells me what he sees in these photos doesn't add up to.
Okay, check this out. It's so simple to me. Those bed sheets, things thrown all about, looks to me like there was a struggle, a scuffle. Think about it. Epstein, if you've seen pictures of his house, Epstein was a tidy, neat freak. I know he was in the slammer and the pokey and all that, but I don't see this man throwing his sheets and everything all over the floor. There was a struggle. There was a fight. And I game no game. This man, and another thing she won't mention here, but when the coroner first examined him, he ruled this a homicide. His people, the convicted felon chief, don't think that he's not involved with all this stuff. Got the message, and they switch the cause of death to suicide.
Suicide by hanging, saying, quote, "All we know is the guard said he cut him down when he found him. If you look at the noose, the long end of the noose has a hemmed edge and it wasn't cut. No creases." Mark
Look at
Epstein
that.
says
You can
this
see, look
noose
on the right
doesn't show
side.
any cut marks, so how could it have been part of a bed sheet Epstein used to hang himself? There is a piece of orange bed sheet looped through a hole on the bottom bunk, not tied on, not able to hold Epstein's weight, according to his brother. Mark says his brother was upbeat before his death because he was about to have a bond hearing, telling me, quote, "At first I thought, okay, maybe he didn't want to go through this. He decided to take himself out. He was facing life in jail. But then I started seeing and learning what was going on. No, nobody thought he was going to kill himself. Jeffrey wasn't a wimp. I knew him better than anybody. We were brothers." What about the fact that Epstein changed his will 2 days before he died? Some say that indicates he was planning his suicide. But Mark Epstein tells me Jeffrey changed his will frequently, and he knows there was one particular reason he changed it this time, and that it had nothing to do with his criminal case. Terry Parker, WPBF 25 News.
Good job, Ms. Parker. Think about that. You just saw those images. There's no way that man did that to himself. I have another video that I showed before with Epstein and the missing tape and everything. And I'm going to close out with this one here. What I'm getting at, everything that we're seeing, the distractions of the ICE, the concentration camps being built, the Iran situation, and it's not a war, people. Congress did not authorize the war. So he's going around saying the word war, and it's not really a war. Listen to this.
Right now, however, we want to go over some major news regarding the Jeffrey Epstein saga that came out over the weekend. Jean-Luc Brunel, a former French modeling agent who was charged with the rape of minors and was suspected of scouting girls for Epstein, was found dead in his Paris jail cell on
2022.
Saturday. Virginia Giuffre commented on the matter on Twitter, saying, "The suicide of Jean-Luc Brunel, who abused me and countless
still
girls and
alive
young
at the
women,
time.
ends another chapter. I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to face him in a final trial to hold him accountable, but gratified that I was able to testify in person last year to keep him in prison."
Filings in a federal court in New York showed Giuffre alleged that Brunel would offer modeling jobs to girls as young as 12 and take them to the U.S. to, quote, farm them out to his friends, especially Epstein. Disgusting. Officials said that Brunel died in what appeared to be a suicide by hanging.
Oops.
The 76-year-old was
Sound like
detained back in
Epstein.
December 2020 over allegations of rape and abuse. The investigation was a preliminary inquiry to see if Epstein had any French victims or had committed sex crimes on French territory. Brunel had been described as Epstein's best mate and pimp and is believed to be a key member of Epstein's inner circle. Ew, gross.
They tying up loose ends here? Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm very excited for
No
the
pun intended.
for the meme. Oh God, I'm excited for the
actually
memes
was not intended.
of Hillary Clinton sneaking out.
So That was a joke they were going to say about Hillary, but I just think that it just can't make this up. Two people connected with Epstein. Well, Epstein and this guy, so connected together with the convicted felon in chief. These people end up dead because they have information, missing files. Everything points to something's rotten in Denmark or something's rotten on 1700 Pennsylvania Avenue. So what are we going to do? We have to stay strong out there. We have to stay pressing toward the mark and remember what it says here. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come. Sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and defile a person. This is also supported by Proverbs. That was Mark 7, 21, 23. And it says, do not envy the wicked. Do not desire their company, for their hearts plot violence, and their lips talk about making trouble. This kind of tells you the kind of person that is occupying that place in Washington, D.C. Out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come and behaviors happen and the wickedness. So don't get caught up with their kind of world. I'm so glad that you all joined me today. And remember that we are here to just enjoy you. Again, like and subscribe to our show. You know, click that little bell. Go to our website. And most of all, I want you to all think about staying woke, because we're dealing with people right now that are doing evil things out there. I want everybody to just say to themselves that you're going to do the best you can to make this world better. And that's all you can do. I just shake my head. I mentioned earlier, both my grandmamas would say, all I can do is shake my head. There's a lot of mess going on. Well, I say to all of you out there today that have been listening, thank you for joining me today. Like I said, I took a little time off just to kind of get refreshed and just to just kind of keep some things going. So till I see you next time, maybe Reverend Jennifer will be here. But in the meantime, stay blessed, stay on the wall, stay continually protecting one another, and we'll be glad to see you again. And again, I'm Reverend Dr. Barry N. Staples. Until next time, see you later.